Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of this week's Trinity 10s. Of course, like I said, this week's topic is on risk management and risk avoidance. On last video, I definitely got to like the tip of the iceberg on risk management. I gave you examples of what it's like to take risks that are conducive to you staying in business, to take risks that are conducive to you growing in business, because you have to evolve as your business evolves. You have to evolve as consumer options evolve even. I think a lot of times when we set out with our product or we set out with our service, we're so linear in our thoughts. We're so dedicated to that one thing we've either perfected or that we've learned. And consumers, like I always say, have so many options. They have the ability to check this website or check that skincare or check this different type of product or check this different type of service who has the service that I need plus some, right? So in business, you have to manage your risks in the way that you seek to stay in business long term. You seek to have your customers so loyal to you because of what you offer, have them so loyal to you because of your customer service, your ability to come through, and your consistency, their ability to depend on you. That is crucial, but you can't stay in business long term if you don't evolve with the people who sustain your business, okay? So I think that with risk management, we do this in a way to say we're still alive as entrepreneurs. Being an entrepreneur is by far your greatest risk. It is the ability to come out of the rat race, the ability to hone your skills, the ability to do self-introspection. I don't think people realize the amount of self-introspection, the amount of self-growth that's required to be an entrepreneur. Whether you're profitable now or not, there's so much growth that goes into that. There's so much unlearning, so much untwining of ideas and rewiring of your brain even to know that security isn't always beneficial to you long term. The security of that job is great, but who is it benefiting, right? The security of that job is great, but are you being valued? Are you able to fully express your totality and not necessarily give everybody everything? You know what I'm saying? Even in business, you have those things that are reserved for you. But I mean, are you fulfilled? Are you really living out something that makes you wake up every day and want to go there? Again, it doesn't necessarily mean entrepreneurship. There are things called entrepreneurs where people are heading up a new division or heading up a new department within an existing company. And they are doing, the risk management area where it's just a few dedicated employees to that. But even entrepreneurs have their own stake in the company where they feel like they're alive. They feel like they're creating something, right? So when we speak on risk management, you've gotten to that place because as the entrepreneur, you've done enough work to sustain that profit that you were looking for. You've done enough work to hire your employees. You've done enough work to even promote some of your employees. Your customers are returning very well. You are in a place where you have created brand loyalty, whether it is, like I said, service-based or product-based, but you have that sweet spot that you're in. You're not quite at a plateau where you're trying to scale and ramp up and you just can't quite get there, right? But you're at a sweet spot. You're no longer breaking even. You have consistent profit. You have consistent KPIs. Your people are happy. You don't have a high turnover rate, right? You're sweet spot and you're cruising. So in this aspect, when something new comes up in your industry, let's say you are in warehousing and there's this new either carousel technology or there's this new line equipment that comes out, right? You're going to manage that risk. Like, okay, how is this going to disrupt my current flow? If it disrupts my current flow, how long am I going to have to pay my employees to learn and not produce, right? So how many people per shift do I allow to learn while they're not producing, right? So there's so much that goes into risk management, and we've become so dedicated to crunching the numbers and figuring out how it's going to affect us because we have reached that comfortability. We have reached that consistency. And of course, that's beautiful in business. You want to be consistent. You want to be comfortable where you've worked to get to, right? But you have to continue to take risk. So that is risk management. Woo, we got it. That is risk management. You're in a position where you're okay with taking risks, but only after you've done enough research, only after you've done enough deduction, only after you've seen exactly how it's going to benefit you to even undertake that next level, right? So that's risk management. Moving into risk avoidance. Risk avoidance is probably some of my greatest overcoming as a consultant to get to new customers, to pitch my sales, to pitch my services. This is probably the area that, you know, you kind of hit that brick wall where it's like, okay, no, we've been doing it this way for 10 to 15 years. Let's say they're in real estate. And they're like, no, we don't need to go out and get certain types of customers. We don't need to work with this developer. Our customers come to us organically. We have word of mouth. We have this side of the community who always comes to us. We don't need anything extra. Our processes are fine, right? So you got to overcome these people. These people are suffering, and I do mean suffering, from risk avoidance. You guys, you cannot remain in business and be risk avoidant. Like you can't avoid risk when you're in business. To stay in business is a risk. To not sell your company off or become a subsidiary just so you have that extra security, or to not go in on an acquisition or be bought out in a merger but still have your employees stay there and your company name stay there, but you may not be the controlling factor anymore. You may get a C-suite position, but you're still under the direction of the company that bought you out. So don't avoid risks within business if it's truly your passion. If you are, let's say like a startup company, or you are in tech and you want to be bought out by NVIDIA. You just want to have the core processors, or you just want to have the filaments or whatever copper that goes into making these chips. That's all you want to do. And then once you're bought out by NVIDIA, you'll then take your capital and go and do something else, right? So for you, you wouldn't be focused on growth. You wouldn't be focused on scaling. You wouldn't be focused on trying to find another foothold within the industry to make you become better. You wouldn't be focused on trying to find a manufacturer. You wouldn't be focused on trying to lock in a contract for 5 years with someone who produces your copper or someone who puts your chips together or anything like that. The things that are needed for longevity, the things that are needed for scaling, you wouldn't do. You wouldn't undertake that risk because it's not conducive to the end you're seeking to reach. So it's really crucial for you to be specific on where you're going. It's really crucial for you to know exactly what you want your business to look like, what your long-term goal is, how your employees are vested into the company, what your company structure is, because you don't want to get people dependent on you and you avoid risk to stay in business, and now they're in a place where they can't move or they can't grow because you're not seeking to grow the company, right? So you have to be very clear on this, especially with your growers, like we talked about on last week, providing an area that is conducive to those growers, those people who want to see the company grow, those people who want to help the company grow. But if your only goal is to have people stay in a functional position so you can sell the company out, you need to be upfront about that. If you're no longer willing to take those calculated risks, if you're no longer willing to even manage a risk, and you're fully, set in risk avoidance, you need to make your employees aware. You need to make your team aware. You need to make your C-suite aware, because this is not conducive to people who have bought into your mission. This is not even beneficial to them to know that they're not going to gain new skills prior to having to find another place of work. So, risk avoidance is, like I said, typically done for you to stay within your industry. I have an example of how someone avoided risk, then undertook the risk, and still did not get the benefit they were looking for. And that would be Victoria's Secret. Of course, as you know, full-figured women are taking over fashion. We're taking over undergarments. We're taking over all of these things that are now pop culture. So Victoria's Secret actually decided to stay with their, true to brand. They're more petite models. They're more petite angels. And they took a lack for this. And people were like, well, why aren't you guys giving us this? Why aren't you guys giving us that? And then by the time they did, so many other lines were out that people were like, what's the point? Are you just following the money? Do you truly believe in the mission of all women being beautiful? So there are so many things that go into business, you guys, that if you avoid risk and then decide to jump in later, it could actually damage your brand more than it would if you just decided to manage that risk going forward, okay? So I hope you guys have an amazing week. Definitely take some time to see what it is you want your company to look like in 5 to 10 years. See if you are ready to take on some of the market changes like AI or robots, or automation, or if you want your people to grow with you, how high do you want them to grow? Is it past management? Is it C-suite? Is it possible CEO and you just remain as president? Definitely be specific so your people aren't coming in blind and think they have a job forever. Okay? All right, you guys, that's risk management and risk avoidance. Make sure you're clear, and I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Bye-bye.